Thank you for joining me tonight. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on in which time frame you are. Today, our topic is coaching is not only asking a powerful question. But before we start something related to the coaching, I actually have one small quiz with you. And let's do the quiz. And let me share my screen. So you should be able to see what I am doing. So this is the first question. Since soccer is going on and right now there is no conversation is happening without the mentioning of soccer. So let's start our conversation with okay. What do you think is the most essential skill for a good soccer player? So you can go to the Menti and type this code here, or I can do one thing. I can copy the link here and put the link in the chat window. Soccer is football. Yes, in some part of the world, it is called the football. And I put the link in the chat window. So what do you think is the essential skill for a good soccer player?
Ability to kick.
Ability to kick, great. Formation, okay. Passing, other.
Speed.
Speed, great. And if you just go to that link which I shared on the chat window, or go to the menti.com and put the code there, then you should be able to see a poll there. 5 people actually voted so far now. Passing, formation, and others. So we have 10 votes so far. $13 votes. Anyone else want to share some thoughts?
I think it's all of the above.
All of the
not
above.
just one.
All of the above. That is nice. So next time I should add one more, all of the above. Thank you for educating me. Okay, so far, passing is a winner. So far, most of the people are saying that passing is the most essential skill for a good soccer player. So let's take a look at the second question. So when we discuss the passing, so let's take a look at the passing in a little bit more detail. Actually, this is not surprising for me. Whenever I actually have a question, something similar, then I got the same result. Most of the people are thinking that passing is the most essential skill for a good soccer player or football player, depending on which part of the world you are. So let's take a look at the second question. And my second question is, how many types of passes are there in a soccer? More than 25. Great. More than 10, but less than 25. So a lot of people are thinking that there are more than 10 different types of passes, but less than 25. So let's discuss this thing in a little bit more detail. So let's start our main topic, what we are trying to discuss today. So this is what our topic is. Coaching is not only asking the powerful question. And let's see how this thing is related to the soccer and how this thing is related to the passing the ball. So this is a little bit of my introduction. I have been in this industry for 22 years. I'm an ICF certified corrective trained or trained coach, and I enjoy helping others. I enjoy helping others to grow. So let's start with the soccer thing. So there is no standard answer. When I was doing a research on the internet, I do not came across any standard answer. So one Google search came across there are 15 types of passes, and these type of passes can be different if you came across the different sources. So without going into the too much detail about whether this list is correct or not, but one thing is very obvious that there are so many different type of passes are in soccer. So it is not only two passes like a forward pass or backward pass. The story is not even ending here. There are 7 different ways to pass the ball. So now, if I have a question, if I want to become a good soccer player, what should I do? Should I become an expert of all 15 types of passes? And how to pass the ball in all 7 ways? If I become an expert in all this, can I become a good soccer player? Is it enough for me? What do you think? Feel free to speak or put your answer in the chat window. No. Hassan is saying no. Anyone else? So
Can
I
you
saw one
repeat it
thumbs
again,
up.
please?
So my question is, we saw that there are 15 different types of passes and there are 7 different ways to pass the ball. So is it, if I become an expert of all different types of passes and all different ways to pass the ball, is it enough for me to become a good soccer player? So I saw
No.
teamwork is
Maybe.
essential, coordination. What else do we need?
Determination.
Determination. So while we were discussing about the soccer, and let me admit everyone. So while we are discussing about the soccer, let me show you one statistics of one match, and that's happened just a week ago. Everyone remember the match between the Morocco and Spain?
Yes.
Take a look at the stats. How many passes Spain did and how many passes Morocco did? This is the first time I saw there's a huge difference between the number of passes. And if you take a look at these numbers, almost all of the numbers, Spain is actually doing better than Morocco. But what was the end result? Who won the match? If passing is only enough to win the matches, if ball position is only enough, if passing accuracy is only enough, if getting the corners are only enough, then this match should be won by Spain. But we can see that although all of the numbers of Spain looks good, but finally the match is won by Morocco. Just for a little bit more information, since some of you discuss the formation, so let's take a look at a little bit formation. So there are more than a different dozen type of formation. I just picked 3 formations here. So if we become an expert in formation, if you become an expert in dribbling, if you become an expert in ball position, the passes accuracy, the number of passes, is it enough for us to win the match? And we just saw a real example, not too old, Morocco versus Spain. Spain did, as per by book, pretty much everything better than Morocco, but still Morocco won the match. And why I am discussing this thing? Because passing the ball is enough, it's necessary to become a good soccer player, but it is not sufficient. What does it mean by necessary but not sufficient? Let's take a look at an example. For example, if I want to become a US senator or whatever your country is and senator of your country, then I have to have a US citizenship to become a US senator. But is this enough? Can I become a senator only by becoming a US citizen? We have to win the election. So having the US citizenship is a necessary condition for becoming a US senator, but it is not sufficient. We have to win the election. And someone clearly mentioned the votes. In the same way, passing the ball is a necessity condition, but not sufficient. Asking a powerful question is a necessity condition for a coaching, but it is not sufficient. We need a little bit more than that. And what do we need a little bit more than that? Since when we have the coaching conversation, and every coaching conversation has a beginning, has a middle, and end, pretty much like a timeline of the story. So let's take a look at what is going on in our story timeline. In our story timeline, we have a beginning, then we have some rising action, some conflict, we have a middle, and then falling action, and then we have a conclusion. If we are not following this structure, then it looks like a random thing. So in coaching session, we are trying to follow some structure. If you are randomly asking the powerful question without following some sort of structure to end the conclusion, then we are not getting maximum out of it. Let's try to explore this in a little bit more detail. So this is a very interesting diagram from the Sam Kanner book. Although the book is on facilitation, but it mentioned whenever we have the session for the facilitation or conversation, then we have a beginning, then we have a divergent zone where we are throwing the different ideas without evaluating the ideas. After that, there is a grown zone where we have a conversation. Then we have a convergent zone and we come to the conclusion. So we can see some structure here in our conversation, in our storyline, even in our facilitation. So we need this structure in addition to just asking the powerful question. So we have been discussing so much. We have been discussing the soccer, we have been discussing the storyline, but we haven't discussed what the coaching is. So let's start with what the coaching is. Coaching is not a regulated industry. And we can come back to this point again in a few minutes. So there are different definitions of the coaching. So here, I just picked 4 definitions of the coaching. Most of you are probably familiar with the ICF definition of the coaching, that it is a partnership between the coach and the client. And in this partnership, we are trying to grow the coach, or trying to grow the coachee, trying to help the client by using the thought-provoking and creative process. And how we are going to do this thing. So now let me introduce one concept, and that concept is, thank you, Robert, don't drive to converge before it's time. Yes, and that is exactly what we are going to discuss in our next slide. So we have a concept of coaching arc. What is the coaching arc? And here, if I am going to explain in a very broad view, then coaching arc has a 2 part, the exploration part and the action part. And you can see one thing in the middle, that do not arrive here too early. If we are going to do the action very soon, then probably we are not exploring the current problem in detail. Maybe we are not even addressing the problem. We are probably addressing just the symptoms. Or maybe we are just trying to solve the problem rather than helping the people to grow. And there are different versions of the coaching arc. Without going into the too much detail about what the differences of those versions, let's take a look at what the basic theme is. No matter whatever the version of the coaching arc you came across on the internet, you will find something similar. First, we will do some sort of discovery or exploration, and then we are going to some action, commitment, and accountability. This is another version, and this version is something very similar. So first, we are creating the environment, then discovering the problem, the option. We pick the option, the coachee pick the option, and then we commit the things. And everything is built with the powerful question. So powerful question is a foundation building block, but we need a little bit more than that. Just like passing the ball is a building block of the soccer game. But to become a winner, we need more than passing the ball. We have to come up with some strategy based on your own strength and weakness and your opponent's strength and weakness. You cannot just randomly pass the ball among the players and expect to win the match. Similarly, you cannot just ask the powerful question randomly and expect that you are actually going to help the client to grow. So we have been discussing the powerful question so many times. But now the question is, what is the powerful question? And is there something else we can do in the coaching conversation? Is there some other techniques we can use in the coaching? So let's start with the powerful question. So powerful question, it is open-ended question. It is not like where you know the answer or don't know the answer. Sometimes I'm to explain the concept, I'm asking the person some randomly weird question like, what is the capital of Venezuela? Now, to give the answer of this question, either you know the answer or you don't know the answer. If you know the answer, you just tell, okay, this is the capital of Venezuela. Or if you don't know the answer, you cannot come up with the answer just by having the deep thinking. Thank you, Nawaz. If you know the answer, you can just throw the answer. Otherwise, just by keep thinking, you cannot come up with the answer. But powerful questions are open-ended. So there are more than one different ways you can answer this thing. Usually start with a what or how, and usually it is short. We are not having a very lengthy, powerful questions. And we are not asking the question that is leading in some direction. Actually, sometimes we came across a suggestion in the form of a question. So powerful questions are not leading towards anywhere. Let's take a look at a couple of examples. So here are a couple of examples. And here I explicitly pick the example that is applicable not only in the agile world, but also outside the agile world. What does fun mean to you? What is stopping you? What else? One of my favorite questions. How do you deal with a failure? So this is what we have been discussing so far. And this is most of us as a coaches are familiar that if we are asking the powerful question, then we are doing the coaching session. But what is the most important thing? And what is the one thing that is present in every coaching session? I do understand there may be a possibility that due to the time, you might not cover the whole coaching arc because you are out of time. So in that particular case, due to the time or due to any other circumstances, you might not achieve to the commitment. But every coaching session must have our coaching agreement. And what we are going to do in the coaching agreement, Shali, thank you. That's exactly what I'm saying, coaching agreement. So what we are going to do in the coaching agreement, other than the confidentiality and the other things, what we are going to do, we are going to identify what the issue is. And here I'm going to give you one small model or tip or technique, whatever you want to say, that's actually helped me a lot. And I hope it helps you. And this is called the TOM or the TOM model, the issue identification. What we are going to discuss, what is the topic? What is the objective we are going to achieve with this session? And how do we measure if we actually achieve our objectives? And these things should come from the coachee. These things should come from the client. Client should come with the topic. Client should come with what is the objective he or she is trying to achieve from this session, or maybe the whole coaching agreement, maybe more than one coaching sessions, and how the client is going to measure that he or she is going to measure the objectives is achieved or not. So this is, as you see, this is one form of things which, although we are doing with a powerful questioning, but this actually helps us to start our conversation. Let's take a look at one more techniques of the coaching. It is actually one of my favorite technique, reframing. And what is reframing? I didn't realize that I put the animation here. So I'm giving you two examples of the reframing here. It is actually trying to change the perspectives and trying to see the things from the different angle. So instead of asking, what do I want from the life, we can reframe the situation. What does life want from me? Or second one, I actually enjoyed a lot. Do not ask the kids what they want to be when they grow up, but what problems do they want to solve? This changes the conversation from what do I want to work for to what do I need to learn to be able to do. And how we are going to do the reframing. Reframing can be done in several different ways. So here are some of the ways. We are going to change the perspective, and we can change this perspective from the time frame, maybe present to future. Where do you want to see 5 years from now? From first person to second person, if you are in that position, what you are going to do. From powerless to empowered. For example, if you have a magic wand, what will you do in that situation? From negative to positive, from passive to active, from part to complete, from self to other, weakness to strength, individual to community, and there can be a lot of other ways. And probably now you understand that reframing help the client to see the situation from the different angle. And that's helped the client to grow, because the client may not consider the things from that point of view before. So here I'm going to share a few more examples. It is actually from the same book, from the same Kanner book, on the facilitation book. All the examples are coming from this book. So here there is an original statement and how we reframe the situation from the different angle. We can say it is a problem, or we can say it is an opportunity. We can say we do not have enough resources, or we can say we are wasting resources we have. Our goal is unachievable, or we do not have our goal broken into a realistic steps. We don't have enough money, or we haven't figured out how to find a new source of funding. So here I'm trying to show how can we reframe the statement. But if we are reframing the statement along with a powerful question, what are we going to do? Take a look at the power of both if you're trying to do both together. If you have all the power, what action will you perform? Where do you see yourself in a year from now? If you are a customer, what does velocity mean to you? This is one of my favorite questions whenever there is a lot of discussion going on with velocity for the agile teams. Or sometimes I'm saying, if you're a team, if you're a customer of your own team, what does this mean? What does this mean to you? If you're still doing this, how would this impact you in a long time? So take a look at what we are doing. Sometimes we are changing the perspective from the time point of view, sometimes from the person point of view, either the team member, now it becomes a customer, either we are discussing the time frame of today, we are discussing the time frame of future, or the different things. And this is actually really helpful for clients to grow. So this is one very interesting tool. Let's take a look at one more tool. And that tool is metaphor. What is a metaphor? Metaphor is actually a property or a concept, and it is sometimes really helpful to understand, to communicate, to convey the complex and complicated concepts. So it is a mapping between the constituent element, and actually we are using it almost on a daily basis. I might already use some of the metaphor in past few minutes. And how the metaphor is going to help you in the coaching session. Just take a look at a few examples of the metaphor first, and then we will see. So one of the famous sentence from, if I remember, from the William Shakespeare, all the world is stage. The movie is a roller coaster ride. Emotional bank account. That's a very famous one of my favorite from the 7 Habits of Effective People. Brick wall, turning point, time is money. And how this is actually helping in the coaching session, because if we are asking our client to explain, come up with metaphor, so what is going to happen? in a metaphor, that they might think from the different angle. They might trying to explain the concept, and sometimes they might detach themselves from the problem with the usage of metaphor, and that helps the client to look the problem from the different angles and come up with a solution. Let's take a look at one more thing. I give you one thing at the beginning of the coaching session, that is the TOM, topic, objective, and measure. Let's see what is going to help us towards the ending of the session when we are going to close the session. So now I'm going to give you one more model towards the end. That is a CRA model. And what is a CRA? CRA is clarity, responsibility, and accountability. So how we prefer to end the coaching session is our client should have a clarity, what the client is going to do, how the client is moving forward, the future oriented. Client is going to take the responsibility for performing some actions, and client is going to take the accountability to take those actions. Let's try to make it a little bit more structure on this thing. I'm just giving you some models and some techniques. Let's try to make some structure on these things. So anyone is familiar with the coaching models, or anyone here some of the coaching models? Just speak aloud or put your thoughts in the chat window.
Yeah, see, Sean, how about the 5Ds?
There are a lot of things, and obviously we can discuss the 5D, we can discuss the feedback model, we can discuss a lot of things. I'm not denying this thing. There's the ARC models, but the thing is that I'm just picking few of them to give you a theme that we need more than the powerful question. 5D is also one of the example that this is actually you are reinforcing the same thing, that if you are only asking the powerful questions, that we are probably not achieving our goal. And as you clearly mentioned, that there are many. So let's take a look at the coaching models discussion. So first of all, what is the coaching model? So here, every model, all the models are wrong, but some are useful, because what the model is approximation of the reality. So that's actually help us. And what the coaching model is, it is some sort of a structured framework that guides our conversation during the different phases of coaching. Like, take a look at the coaching R. And one of the most common and most simple coaching model I came across during the conversation is a GROW model. Anyone familiar with a GROW model? Anyone hear the GROW model?
Yes, I
A lot
used
of
it.
people. Yeah, a lot of people. Thank you, Hassan. Thank you, Nawaz. So it's a goal, reality, options, or obstacles, and will or way forward, how we are going to move forward. So it is originally developed in 1980 by Sir John Whitmore. Actually, you saw the coaching definition of John Whitmore at the beginning of the session also. But this is not the only model. There are lots and lots of models. And we do not have time to explain and discuss all the models here, but I'm just giving you a few of the models so we can see the same theme again and again, that what we are going to do in a coaching session rather than simply asking the powerful question. So let's take a look at the first extension of the GROW model. So this is the extension of the GROW model, and this is done by Kristen Simpson, who is a team member of the John Maxwell faculty member. So what he actually did, he actually added two more things. First is a topic at the beginning. What is the topic we want to discuss? And then after the goal, there is the outcome. Remember what we discussed, the TOM, topics, outcome, measure. So he introduced the topics, then goal is the same, then outcome, reality, options, and way forward. So this is just an extension of the GROW model. If you're already familiar with the GROW model, then it should not be very difficult for you to use the TGROW model. But this is not the only model. Take a look at, there is one more model, CLEAR model. And what is the pattern I wanted to mention here? It's the same theme. We have to move forward. We have to take some actions. Let's take a look at one slide back. What is the move forward in grow and T-grow model is way forward. We have to take some action. The client has to take some action. That is the key of the coaching. We saw this thing in a coaching arc. Now we are going to see the same thing in a coaching model. Clear coaching model, and take a look at contract, listen, explore, action, and review. We do have the action here. Without the action, we are not helping the client. And sometimes I'm using one metaphor. It is something like we are taking off the plane, but we are not landing the plane. How do you feel if the plane is take off but never landed? I like this even better. What do you like? You like the plane or you like the clear? So let's explore a little bit more. Achieve model. And what is happening in achieve model? Take a look at the second last step. Validate an action program design. Here we again have the action items. So we are doing the exploration, access the current situation, brainstorming the alternatives, goals, options, evaluate the options, but we have to do some action. Take a look at another model, STEPA. I hope I pronounced this correctly. First, we are doing all the exploration, and what we are doing towards the end, adopt or act. Again, we have the action here. So it's the same pattern again and again. It's the same theme. Oscar model. What is here? Outcome, scaling, know-how, affirm, and action. Here we again have the action. And there are a lot more different models. And one thing is common among all of the models are they are focusing on some actions, some accountability, some commitment to move forward. That actually helps the client to grow. Otherwise, the client might say, yeah, that's a good conversation, but what I'm going to do with this? At the beginning, I discussed one thing that ICF is not a regulated industry. What does it mean? It is not a regulated industry. If I studied all the medical book, can I call myself a doctor? Am I allowed to perform the operation? If I studied all the medical book, although I do understand all the medical book, I might have more knowledge than the doctors. Am I able to operate? No. If I read all the law books, am I able to fight the case in a court? Am I able to stand in a court? No. And what makes you think that we are not allowed? Experience counter. So other than the experience, there is one more thing is counts here. Okay. Thank you, Hassan. And one more important thing is other than the experience and skill is that the examples which I gave you is a regulated industry, and you have to follow whatever the process is to get the license of practicing the court, admitted into the bar, stand into the court, or perform the surgery. No matter how much knowledge you have, how much skills you have, you cannot go to the court on behalf of someone. You cannot perform the surgery. You cannot do the prescription. Forget about these things. Like these are the big things. Like I cannot become a pilot, although if I learn all the aerodynamics. I cannot even perform cosmetics makeup on someone, although if I have to go to, although if I have all the knowledge, I have to go through the process. So these are the regulated industry. Coaching is not a regulated industry. Fortunately or unfortunately, depends on how do you want to see this thing. What does it mean? It means there is no single authority who are saying that this is the way you are supposed to do the coaching. Actually, one of my instructor told me in past, there was just a joking conversation happening that how do you become an agile coach? Just go to the LinkedIn and change your job title. So anyone can call themselves a coach because it is not a regulated things, but I cannot call myself a doctor or lawyer or pilot. And I saw one, I have one observation for past few years, the agile community, they started having some sort of obsession with the ICF. And a lot of time I came across with the people who are thinking that ICF is the only coaching body. Unfortunately, it is not true. ICF is neither the first nor the only coaching association. There are, in one of my search, I came across more than 20 different coaching associations. I just give you the example of few of them. You can just search it, you can just Google it, trying to find out what they are doing. So ICF is one coaching association, but here in this particular slide, I give you the example of 8 different coaching associations. I'm not going to discuss all 8 in detail. I'm just going to pick 3 of them. And let's try to see what 3 of them are saying with respect to the coaching. So what I'm going to discuss is the first 3, the ICF, IAC, and EMCC. ORSC is not a coaching association. ORSC is a coaching training that is accredited by ICF. It is something like that. Let me give you an analogy for this one. So there is one university who is issuing a different degree program. He is issuing a master's in physics, master's in math, master's in computer, master's in psychology, master's in X, master's in Y. And all of these trainings are actually something like this, issuing the different certificate like the NLP or the neuro-linguistic programming or the clear language or the team coaching like a ORSC or coactive. And there can be a lot of different things. But all of them are most of them are actually associated with the ICF. So when you are doing the ORSC or coactive or NLP, you get ICF training hours. What I am saying is there are other universities also exist. It is not only one university, there are other universities too. So now we are going to explore these coaching association in a little bit more detail and see, are we still following our theme? Or is there anything different, any exception here? So take a look at the ICF first. So ICF, they actually came across this new competencies model in November 2019, where we have the 8 competencies now. In previous version, they have the 11 competencies, regardless of whether you are looking at the old one or the new one. One thing is really important here. Take a look at the second last competency, last competency, facilitate client growth. Apparently it does not make sense for some of you, especially if those are new to the ICF. Then we are going to dig down a little bit more and take a look at the PCC markers. So there are 3 levels of certification for ICF: ACC, PCC, and NCC. So they are defining the 37 markers. Actually, they reduce the markers now, and they are defining the 37 markers which they are going to check whether the coach is showing these competencies or not. And no surprise that highest number of markers, the 9 markers, belongs to facilitate client growth. So there are 9 markers which are the highest number of markers for any coaching competency for the ICF. And what we are discussing here, how we are going to facilitate the client growth. Take a look at what is here. I'm going to read the number 5. Coach partner with the client to design post-session thinking, reflection, or action. Take a look at number 9. Coach partners with the client on how they want to complete the session. Number 4, coach invites the client to consider how they will use new learning from this coaching session. So we have the same theme here. We want to go to the action. We want to do some accountability. We want to do some commitment. Let's take a look at another coaching body, IAC. And interestingly, IAC and ICF both are founded by the same person. Although the person died 1 month before the IAC is formally founded, IAC is using the concept of masteries. ICF is saying the competencies, IAC is calling the masteries. And these are the 9 masteries for IAC coaching. And here, I'm going to dig down on second last, inviting the possibilities, and trying to see what does it mean. So if we are going to the IAC literature, then we will see that they are having the effects of the masteries and measure on the masteries. So let's explore this thing in a little bit more detail. And here I'm discussing the second last mastery, inviting possibilities. What is the number one item? Coach enables expansion of thoughts and actions. Client's awareness is expanded. So here again, our focus is on the action. I said there is a measure of those masteries also, just like the PCC markers for the ICF. So how they are going to measure? So see here, client is receptive and recognize expansion, help, or other ideas are possible. The coach offers the new possibilities. The client offers the new possibilities. The client express either sincere enthusiasm regarding new possibilities or an acceptance of the process. So we'll again see the same theme here. We are here to grow the client. We are not asking the question just for the sake of asking the question. Let's take a look at the third one, EMCC. It is more famous in Europe, EMCC competencies framework. And here in EMCC competencies framework, take a look at the third last, outcome and action oriented. In EMCC, they have the 4 different levels. The basic level is the foundation one. And here I'm going to discuss only the foundation one, so you will have an idea. Even if you want to become a basic level course, foundation level course on EMCC, then what are you supposed to do? And obviously for the higher level, you have to emphasize those things in more. So in EMCC, they call it capability indicator. Just like in ICF, they call it PCC marker. Here, we call it capability indicator. So what are the capability indicator of outcome and action oriented competency at the foundation level? And what we are discussing here. So here, our focus and emphasis again is the growth, to perform some action, to achieve the potential. So we will see the same theme here. We started our conversation with that powerful question is not the only tool. There are a lot of other tools. We discussed some of the tools, reframing and metaphor, and we can go in more details if you have a time. Then we explore the different models that is providing a structure for us for coaching conversation. And every model has the same theme. We have to take some action. And then we were discussing, it is not only specific to ICF. We can see the same thing in the other coaching bodies, IAC and EMCC. So in journal, if I'm trying to journalize this thing, so I came across these 4 principles from one of the book, and I just try to create this house metaphor, because in agile world, house metaphor is very common. And the book is a very small, very thin book, and very easy to read, Unlocking Potential. And as per this author, these are the 4 principles of coaching: trust, potential, commitment, and execution. And you will see the same thing here. We have to perform the commitment and we have to execute that thing to achieve our potential. What as a coach we are doing is, as a coach, we are helping the client, which is at the present performance level, to move to the future potential level. So we grow the client. We are not solving the problems of the client. We are not coaching the problem. We are coaching the person. So person will grow to achieve the potential, the future potential. So here, from this diagram, what I am trying to explain is client is currently at this level, the solid line level. This is the current present performance level. But if we help the client to grow, then client can reach to this future potential level. And that is exactly what we are going to do as a coach. We are not solving the problem of the coachee. We are helping the client to grow so the client can solve their own problem. And that is what we are going to do in a coaching session. We are coaching the person, not the problem. Actually, there is a book with the same name, Coach the Person, not the Problem. Let me tell you one backstory before closing this session. So the idea of this story, this whole session comes from 2 things. So one thing is, a lot of time I came across a conversation with a lot of different coaches who are trying to collect the powerful question like a collectible items. They are having the catalog of the powerful question, and they were thinking that if they have enough powerful question, then that is enough for them to do the coaching. Someone openly saying that coaching is just asking the powerful questions. And the other thing I came across, other idea I came across is one of my fellow coach working in another organization tell me one story. And the story is their RT went to the coach, and when the RT came back, he was saying, it looks like an interrogation. And that clicks me to write on this thing, to have a session. And this is what I'm trying to convey. If we just keep asking the powerful question without having any intent of the client growth, then it is more like an interrogation than a coaching. And that is what I'm going to say, that coaching is not only asking the powerful question. Yes, we cannot do a coaching without a powerful question, just like we cannot play any soccer game without having to pass the ball. But passing the ball is not the main intent of the soccer match. Similarly, asking the powerful question is not the main intent of coaching session. The main intent is a client growth. And if we simply ask a powerful question, then it looks like an interrogation. Any question related to this one? Thank you. Thank you, Karen. Anyone else? Any question? Any feedback? Anything else do you need from me? Okay, I came across a question. Can a coach bring the question or topic for a coaching conversation, or it has to always come from the coachee? When we are discussing about the professional coaching, agenda should always come from the coachee. But when we are discussing from the agile coaching, situation can be slightly different because agile coach is wearing the multiple hat, and a lot of times agile coach has an agenda, and that agenda is agile. But when we are discussing about the professional coaching, the topic, the agenda should always come from the coachee. Does it help, Nawaz?
Yeah, thanks. So I mean, like, how do you, so maybe there is a follow-up on this one, like, so if you are a professional as well as an agile coach, which stance are you going to take when you are in an enterprise to coach people? Like,
It's very much depends on the context. In agile world, we sometimes have to wear the hat of the mentor. Sometimes we have to wear the hat of the consultant, sometimes the facilitator. Here, we are explicitly discussing the hat of coaching. If we are wearing the hat of coaching, then the agenda should come from the coachee. But if we came across in, for example, agile world, and we came across a situation where mentoring is more appropriate than coaching, for example, the team is very new, I don't think so. If the team does not know the Scrum or the Kanban or the Lean, then just by having the powerful question or just by wearing the professional coaching hat, I can help them. Probably at that time, I might have to wear the mentoring or training hat. And after that, maybe we'll go to the coaching hat. Did I answer your question, Nawaz?
yeah, thanks.
Okay, Hassan, I will come to you. There is a hand raised from Karen. I hope I pronounced the name correctly. Karen, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, Zishan, is that good? Did
Yes,
I
it is
pronounce
good.
it correctly?
Yes, it is.
All right. So, where were you going when you did the reframing examples? The first one was, if you have all the power, what action will you perform? What is the purpose of that? You know, I really need a little bit more help on understanding, you know, what and why that
Sure.
example.
So, sure. Thank you for asking this question. And this is a really important question. So the purpose of this question is we do have a constraint, and we are thinking, or the coaches are also thinking in that constraint.
I'm not
And
getting,
what
you said we have a what?
Constraint. We have some limitations and some constraint.
Okay. Got
And what we are going to do is, and what we are doing in a regular way is, everyone, including the coaches, me also, we have the constraint, we have a blind spot. We are not looking for the blind spot because if we look at the blind spot, then it is no more blind. By definition, we cannot see the blind spot. So what the purpose of those type of question is that we are trying to remove the constraint. We are saying, okay, if you will have enough power, what are you going to do? If I will give you the magic wand, that magic wand can do whatever you want. What will you do? And that helps the client to think out of the box and think in such a way, okay, right now, till now, I'm thinking from these constraints, and let's think from the angle that when I do not have these constraints anymore, what I'm going to do in that situation.
Okay,
Did it help?
thanks. Yep, got it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Hassan asked a question, what we do need a consent from the coachee, but in agile case, we have to enable the coachee to understand the value. Is it right? So Hassan, can you please elaborate a little bit more? What was your question?
Well, in case of professional coaching, we do need consent from the coachee that if he wants to be coached or not. But in case of agile, we are actually implementing the agile frameworks, and we need it to be followed by its as per its core values and principles. So in that case, like we have to like do the coaching, even if the coachee doesn't want to be coached or he doesn't understand the value. That's my thing. Like it's kind of a conflicting thing that I think so in professional coaching, that consent is very important. If the coachee wants to be coached, only then we can coach him.
That's a very good point. So here I'm going to repeat the things which I said earlier. So in Agile Coach, first of all, we do have an agenda, our own small agenda of the Agile, but in professional code, everything is coming from the coachee. So this is the one thing where we are slightly different than the professional coaching. And the second thing is that in Agile Coach, if we are not supposed to do the coaching in that particular context because a person is not ready for the coaching, then we can always wear the different hat. Because Agile Coach are wearing the mentoring hat, the facilitator hat, the consultant hat. Actually, now there is a new model for the Agile coaching. We have the previous model for the Lisa Atkin. Now it's an extension of that model. You can take a look at from the Scrum Alliance website and a lot of other websites. But in that particular case, this is what I am doing, what my experience is in that particular case. Instead of wearing the coach hat of the coach, I'm wearing the different hat. I can share one of my personal experience in one session, one of my previous client in Wells Fargo. So what is happening is one Scrum Master clearly told me he needs mentoring, no coaching. So he already made some sort of agreement that whenever we are having a one-on-one conversation, do the mentoring to me, not the coaching. Did I answer your question?
I think so. It's very clear now.
Yeah, thank you. So Mariama, I'm not sure if I pronounced your name correctly or not. So you raised the hand.
Yes, you actually did. Thank you. You said my name correctly. But to piggyback on Karen's question, so in order to help the client, to shift the client, it's asking the open-ended questions, but what will help is having the action item.
And that's exactly what I'm saying. That should be our intention. Our intention should be to help the client to come up with some action items, some commitments, some responsibilities, accountabilities. And if you remember that when I discussed the reframing, so first I give you the example of the reframing, then I added those examples with a powerful question. And that is the main intent. And that is what my tagline for this session is. We are not asking powerful questions just for the sake of powerful question. We are not asking powerful question because we have a list and catalog of powerful question. We are asking powerful question with the intent of client growth. And if I understand it correctly, that's exactly what you're saying, that we are using the powerful question to move towards the action, to move towards the commitment, to move towards the accountability, so the clients can grow to the future potential. Did I answer your question?
Yes, so that basically with action and accountability, it helps the client shift actually
Yes,
to whatever the goal and objective that they're focusing on in that particular session.
yes, and I can add one more thing based on my own experience of the professional coaching. Then lots of time, the real work is actually happening between two coaching sessions. Because during the coaching session, client committed something, then go back, then perform the action, and then come back to the next coaching session, and then we'll do the follow-up. So it is very common. I saw it several times. The real work is done between two coaching sessions. So
Awesome.
coaching
Thank
during
you
the
so
coaching
much.
session,
Yeah.
you're welcome. During the coaching session, they just got the aha, the light bulb moment, the evoke the transformation. They say, oh, now I got a new idea. And then they perform the action. Like very recently, I have the coaching session. In that coaching session, I'm not going to discuss and disclose what the problem was, but he was telling me that he has explored all the possible things what he can think of. And what I was doing is I try to detach the person with that problem. And I was asking, okay, if you came across this situation in past, what did you do? So he was thinking, yeah, I did that thing in past, although it was a completely different problem. And then without even I'm saying anything, they say, oh yeah, I can apply the same thing here also.
Got it.
So what I did, I detached myself and I detached the coachee with the problem. And I asked the coachee to think from the different angle. And when the coach start thinking from the different angle, he came up with a solution himself.
Makes sense. Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. So I have two raised hands. So first, Martin.
Hello. First of all, thank you. This is very informational.
Is it only me or anyone able to hear it properly?
No, not able.
Martin, we can hear your voice, but we cannot understand what you are saying, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
It is better now.
Okay. Are you able to hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So first of all, thank you so much for this wonderful session. You opened a lot of new things to my brain. I mean, thank you. Mike, one thing I would like to share is, based upon, last few years working as a, Scrum Master, project manager, it's a hybrid role. So many agile coaches came to our organization, but many people from my teams, other squads, they got frustrated interacting with coaches because whenever they interacted with the coaches, agile coaches particularly, whenever they asked a question, they ask another question back. And it is always never-ending story. They ask a question, they want the answer, but it's always a question back. And after every session, in a break, because they talk to me very friendly, they say, "What is this? I'm expecting some answer, but this guy is asking me question again and again. I mean, I didn't get anything." So that's one thing I want to share. But then another question I have is, what is the roadmap for the future? If you are an agile coach, or if you are in a hybrid role right now, what would be the future? What is the ladder, career ladder for these coaches?
You open a whole new conversation. I probably can have a follow-up webinar exactly on the same topic. But I just want to keep it very simple. Whether it's the agile coach or the professional coach, what are we trying to do? We are trying to help others to grow. Whether it's a team member, the team lead, the executive, the business owner, whoever it is. This is what our main intention is. And this is what we are supposed to do. Personally, my school of thought is, if I'm agile coach, then I'm not too much picking about wearing this hat versus wearing that hat. I'm more focused on what is helping the client. If wearing the coaching hat is not helping the client, then I don't mind wearing the mentoring hat and use the coaching hat later on. Just like I said a few minutes ago, that if the client does not know what the Kanban is, then just by asking the question, I cannot teach them the Kanban. If there is that situation, then probably I will use the mentoring hat. I will use the training hat. And that is why there are multiple stands. There are multiple hats when you are working as an agile coach. So if you are looking from the agile coach point of view, then or even the professional coach point of view, my answer is same. Our job is to help the peoples to grow so they can solve the problems their own. And everyone has a blind spot, as I said, even coach has a blind spot, and every coach needs a coach. So if we are thinking from that line that we are here to help others to grow, then there is a very bright future, and there are a lot of different direction we can take on. I'm sorry, I'm not very much concrete because it's a whole new topic, but did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. And I saw one more hand, Karen.
So, Zishan, I think you partly answered my question. You know, about deciding, okay, does this person need mentoring or coaching? And, you know, sometimes people need to be mentored, right? If they don't know what Kanban is, you can't coach them out of, you know. So that helped clarify that. But, you know, what if someone needs to be coached and they still want to be mentored? How do you deal with that?
So personally, I never came across a situation when person insisted me to do the coaching, although the coaching is not most or not appropriate at that time. But when we are discussing about the professional coaching point of view, so we do have the code of ethics and we have to follow that ethics. And as a professional coach, we have to tell in some situation that probably you don't need a coaching. For example, if someone needs a therapy, the counseling, then as a professional coach, this is what we have to do. We have to say that probably you don't need a coach this time. Go to the therapist, go to the counselor. Probably they are going to help you. If the person is not in an emotional state, maybe I'm just giving one example, one very bold example. If there is a death of the immediate family member, then person is not in a mental state to be a coach at that time. So as a ethics of the professional coach, we are not supposed to do the coaching at that time.
Right. No, but I mean, I was more so referring to mentoring versus coaching. If someone, you know, you feel that somebody is ready for coaching, but they keep wanna stay, you know, being mentored, I guess I'm wondering, you know, how would you broach and open them up to taking the next step
Okay,
from
so
being
you
mentored to coaching, or do they have to ask you?
okay. So here usually what my approach is that I'm saying you are in a better condition. You know the context than me. So who is going to make the better decision? Is it you or me? So most likely it is you are going to make a better decision. But just for the sake of argument, assume that I have enough knowledge. I have the 1000 IQ. I am the most intelligent person in this planet ever born. And I can always come up with the best answer. But there is still a problem. And what is the problem? Here the problem is now I become a bottleneck. Now you are not growing. So if you want to grow, what do you prefer? Do you want me to catch a fish for you on a daily basis, or do you want me to teach you how to catch a fish so you will feed yourself for the rest of the life? So do you want to be a dependent on me, or do you want to be independent of me?
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Nawaz. And anyone else? Any other question? Any other thought? Any other feedback? I'm sorry, it is a little bit overtime for some of you, but I enjoyed the conversation. I enjoyed the question and answer after that.
Yeah, Zishan, I'd just like to comment like the at the end what you said about enabling the coachee to catch a fish rather than catching it for them. It's you rightfully put it there for the coaching analogy that we're talking about. So excellent.
Thank you, Hassan. Thank you, Vipin. Thank you, everyone. Feel free to contact me on the LinkedIn if you have any question or any follow-up discussion you want with me.